The vast expanse of the galaxy hummed with the quiet hum of civilization, but on Earth, something was stirring, something that the Galactic Council, in all its far-reaching power, had failed to notice. Earth had been a quiet observer in the cosmos, a planet so young and unassuming that even the mightiest factions of the Council believed it to be little more than a footnote in the galaxy's history. 1,000 years ago, humanity's survival was in doubt, and its place in the stars was barely a thought. But that had changed. Earth, now a power in its own right, had been forced to live under the shadow of the Galactic Council's heavy hand, their interference in Earth's affairs stoking a quiet fire within the hearts of its leaders. General Evelyn Harrow, the newly appointed Supreme Commander of Earth's military, stood on the balcony of the Earth Defense Headquarters, staring out at the city skyline below. The vast metropolis, a blend of futuristic designs and the remnants of Earth's past, was a testament to how far humanity had come. But the galaxy was a different world, one in which the Council, the ruling body of 1,000 alien species, held the reins of power. And Earth's position in that galaxy was one of constant tension. Despite their technological advancements, the Council still saw humanity as a primitive species, one that could be controlled with a gentle push. They'd underestimated Earth's potential before, but this time, that would be their mistake. The Galactic Council, a behemoth of bureaucratic politics, had made its move. They had enacted a decree that allowed for the forced extraction of Earth's resources, regardless of the damage to the planet or its inhabitants. Earth's sovereignty was irrelevant in their eyes. To them, Earth was nothing more than a supply depot, disposable, useful, but inconsequential. In a dark, secure conference room within the Earth Defense Headquarters, General Harrow met with her senior officers. The room was dim, illuminated only by the cold, blue light of the holographic displays scattered across the table. As Harrow entered, the room fell silent. They all knew what was at stake. She was their leader, their shield, and the one who would lead them into the unknown. General Harrow, Commander Alara Cortez, a seasoned strategist, said as she stood to greet her. The Council's decree has come through. They plan to begin resource extraction next month. If we let this happen, they'll have full access to our energy reserves, our minerals, and our water. Earth will be drained, literally and metaphorically. Harrow's piercing blue eyes narrowed. She knew the implications of this, not just for Earth's economy, but for its survival. Earth was growing, becoming self-sufficient, but the Council's actions threatened everything. The peaceful coexistence they had hoped for with other species was now slipping through their fingers. There would be no negotiating with an entity that saw them as nothing more than a colony to be harvested. "What's our response?" Harrow asked, her voice calm but laced with an intensity that only she could carry. "Retaliation is our only option," Alara replied. "If we don't act, they'll take what they want and leave us nothing but a shell. The Council won't respect us otherwise." Harrow leaned forward, her fingers steepled in front of her mouth as she considered the weight of Alara's words. Her mind raced. She had built Earth's military in secret, forging alliances with other species, developing technology beyond what the Council thought humanity was capable of. But she hadn't anticipated the need for such a drastic response. "We will make them respect us," Harrow said finally, her voice firm. "But not through diplomacy. We've tried that. The Council doesn't understand humanity's resolve. They don't understand how far we'll go to protect our home. We will strike first." There was a moment of silence. Her officers exchanged looks, but none questioned her decision. Harrow had earned their trust long before this moment. She had fought on the front lines, seen the horrors of war, and proven that humanity could outlast any foe. "General, we've developed the technology for a strike," said Lieutenant Colonel Jace Kincaid, the lead engineer behind Earth's new weapons systems. "But it's not like anything we've ever done before. We're not just talking about a defense, we're talking about overwhelming force. If we launch this, there will be no turning back." Harrow met his gaze. "If we don't launch, we'll be enslaved. Earth will lose its future. I won't let that happen." There was a sudden urgency in the room, as if the very walls were listening to their conversation. Harrow turned toward a massive holographic display of the galaxy. The Council's domain stretched across the screen, an intricate web of systems, planets, and alliances that had been in place for centuries. Earth was an isolated speck on the edge of this system, but now, it was poised to throw itself into the center of the conflict. "We've prepared our forces," Harrow continued. "We'll launch a strike on their fleet, one they won't forget. The Council will know what happens when you push humanity too far." Alara raised an eyebrow. "You're sure about this, General? They won't just retaliate. They'll come at us with everything." Harrow's lips curled into a thin, determined smile. "I'm sure. Let them come. We're ready." The holographic display flickered as Kincaid activated the system. The image shifted to show Earth's hidden fleet, ships designed for stealth, speed, and precision. These weren't the vessels the Council had seen before. They were crafted in secret, built with technology that Earth had hoarded for just this moment. As the display zoomed in on the ships, the faces of the officers around the table grew resolute. This was the moment. "Today, we show them what humanity is capable of," Harrow said. "Today, we strike back." Her voice rang out in the silence that followed, a promise to every man and woman under her command. There was no turning back. The fires of vengeance had been lit, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. This chapter sets the stage for the conflict, establishing General Harrow as a leader with unshakable resolve and a clear vision for Earth's future. Her decision to strike back against the Galactic Council is not just a response to a political move. It is the beginning of a transformation for Earth, one that will forever change humanity's role in the galaxy. The stage is now set for the devastating retaliation that will unfold in the following chapters. The dark void of space outside Earth's atmosphere seemed to stretch endlessly. But inside the command center, a hum of activity buzzed through the air. General Evelyn Harrow stood at the head of a gleaming control table, her fingers gently tapping a digital interface, monitoring the final preparations for Earth's first strike against the Galactic Council. "We're ready, General," Commander Alara Cortez said, her voice steady but carrying an edge of anxiety. Her eyes flicked between the displays that filled the room. "Our forces are aligned, and the covert ships are in position." Harrow nodded, her gaze fixed on the swirling holograms of Earth's fleet, a collection of ships designed not only for speed and precision, but for total annihilation. The Council wouldn't know what hit them. She glanced at the holographic representation of the Council's fleet, oblivious to the approaching threat, still expecting to walk through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. They were about to learn that humans could fight back in ways no one had anticipated. "Patch me through to the fleet," Harrow commanded, her voice crisp and cold. The room went silent as the officers executed her order. Seconds later, Harrow's image was projected across the fleet's comms network, her face as unreadable as the distant stars. The image shifted to reveal hundreds of soldiers, pilots, and commanders stationed aboard Earth's stealth ships, waiting for her orders. "Attention all units," Harrow began, her tone unwavering. "Today, we send a message. The Galactic Council believes Earth is weak, and they will find out how wrong they are. Our strike will be swift, precise, and unforgiving. We take what is ours and send them a message they will never forget. Stay sharp, stay focused, and remember, we are not just fighting for Earth, we are fighting for every living being who's been oppressed by the Council." A collective, silent affirmation rippled through the fleet, and Harrow's face softened for just a moment as she saw the determination in their eyes. Humanity had been pushed to the edge for too long, and this was the moment they would redefine their place in the galaxy. The first wave of attack was launched from Earth's moon, a perfect launch point to avoid detection by the Council's outer sensor nets. Harrow's fleet, made up of ships that could bend light and travel unseen, moved toward the Council's convoy, which was scheduled to begin its resource extraction mission in the coming days. Their target: the supply ships transporting harvested minerals from distant asteroids. The Council had sent these vessels out to assert their control over Earth's wealth, unaware that the very resources they sought would now be the cause of their downfall. As Earth's fleet approached, the tension was palpable. Harrow stood silently at the helm of the lead ship, her fingers steady on the controls. The comms filled with nervous chatter from the fleet, but it all faded into a background hum for her. She wasn't about to let anyone second-guess this operation now. "General, we're within range." Lieutenant Colonel Kincaid's voice echoed through the command center. "Activate the cloaking," Harrow ordered. A flicker of light passed over the fleet, and the ships melted into the darkness of space. The Council fleet ahead, unaware of the impending assault, continued on its trajectory, unaware that Earth's first strike was about to rip through their ranks. "Fleet in position. All systems go," Kincaid reported. "Engage," Harrow commanded. Without warning, the silence of space was shattered by the sudden eruption of weaponry from Earth's fleet. Ion cannons blasted out from cloaked ships, piercing the hulls of the Council's vessels with terrifying accuracy. The first few blasts caught the enemy off guard. Most of the ships had been expecting a defensive move, not an outright attack. The Council fleet scrambled to retaliate, but Earth's ships were already out of range, vanishing into the shadows of space with the ease of a predator striking and retreating. Harrow had been planning this for months, perfecting the strategy, ensuring they wouldn't just strike once but would leave the Council spinning in confusion, unable to mount an effective counter. "Direct hit on their lead ship." "Shields down," Kincaid announced, a glimmer of satisfaction in his voice. "They didn't even see us coming." "Keep the pressure on," Harrow ordered, eyes cold. "We're just getting started." The battle escalated quickly as Earth's fleet maintained its guerrilla tactics. Each strike was more devastating than the last, and the Council fleet had no time to regroup. Harrow's ships were faster, more agile, and better equipped for the covert warfare they'd been preparing for. Earth's superiority in unconventional tactics had been underestimated by the Council for too long. They believed that Earth, while technologically advanced, could not compete with the vast fleets of the Council's allies. Now they were learning that humanity had been playing a different game. As the assault wore on, the Council began to retaliate with more force, but they were uncoordinated and disorganized. Their ships fired in all directions, searching for the source of the attack but unable to detect the cloaked Earth ships. Harrow had set the perfect trap. The fleet knew exactly when to strike and when to disappear, never leaving a trace, while the Council was left scrambling and losing control. A voice crackled over the comms. "General, they've launched reinforcements. We've got more ships coming in." Harrow's face didn't flicker. "Keep them distracted. Let's draw them in." She knew this would be the turning point. The Council's reinforcements were coming in fast, and this would be their chance to make their real move. She gave the order, and a dozen stealth ships darted in, launching a barrage of EMP missiles that disabled the Council's tactical systems. The enemy fleet's navigation and communication systems went dark. In the midst of the chaos, Earth's ships struck once again, this time with a more devastating force. "General, they're falling back," Alara reported, her voice carrying a note of disbelief. "We've crippled their fleet. They're retreating." Harrow stood silently, watching the chaos unfold. The victory felt bittersweet. She had taken a huge step, but the war wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Earth had just made its presence known in the most brutal way possible, but the Council would come after them. This was just the beginning. "Send a message to Earth," Harrow instructed. "We've won the first battle, but we have a long road ahead of us. Let the people know, Earth will not be cowed. We will never be their slaves." As the Council's fleet limped back to its territory, wounded and humiliated, Harrow watched from her ship. This was only the first step. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once before, and Earth would never let that happen again. Earth's first strike had sent a shockwave through the galaxy, and there was no turning back now. Harrow's eyes narrowed with cold determination. The galaxy had just seen what humanity was capable of. This chapter emphasizes the strength and strategic brilliance of General Harrow and her fleet, highlighting their ability to execute a swift, calculated attack against the Galactic Council. Harrow's resolve and the unexpected force of humanity make a powerful statement, signaling the beginning of a new era for Earth. The stars outside Earth's atmosphere had once seemed distant, unreachable. Now, they felt like cold, indifferent witnesses to the destruction that had unfolded in the wake of Earth's first strike. General Evelyn Harrow stood before the war table in the command center, her eyes scanning the holographic map of the galaxy. The Council had learned their lesson the hard way. Earth was no longer a passive player, nor would it ever be again. The first strike had left the Council reeling, but it was only a matter of time before they retaliated. "This will be their move," Harrow muttered to herself, a steely resolve in her voice. She could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the anticipation of the next battle. "General," Commander Alara Cortez said, stepping up beside her, "the Council is sending reinforcements. Their fleet is already en route. The damage we caused, they won't take this lying down." "I know," Harrow replied, her voice low but firm. She didn't need Alara to tell her that. She'd seen the patterns, the politics of the Council. They wouldn't simply allow Earth to escape unscathed. But Earth's victory had ignited something new, a fire that the galaxy had never seen before. "We're ready for them," Cortez added, her eyes sharp with determination. "The fleet is fully prepared, and we've equipped new weaponry. They won't get close this time." Harrow turned her gaze toward the massive digital display showing the incoming Council fleet. The projection was a sea of ships, massive and intimidating. Yet, for the first time in centuries, Earth's ships stood poised, ready to face this threat head-on. "We don't fight to survive anymore," Harrow said, her voice unwavering. "We fight to win. And we will." The first waves of the Council's reinforcements arrived in Earth's orbit like a storm, their ships glistening with alien technology, their hulls reinforced and bristling with weapons. It was an impressive sight, and yet Harrow couldn't help but feel a sense of calm. They had prepared for this. Every move, every decision made over the past months, had been leading to this moment. She would not let Earth fall. "Shields up," Kincaid ordered from the communications station, his voice steady as he relayed orders to the fleet. The tension in the air was palpable as Earth's forces locked into position, awaiting the inevitable clash. "Prepare to fire on my mark," Harrow commanded, her eyes locked on the enemy's approach. "Let's show them what happens when they underestimate humanity." The battle began with a deafening silence, broken only by the hum of Earth's stealth ships as they emerged from the shadows. They struck with precision, targeting weak points in the Council's fleet, launching EMP bursts and ion cannons with deadly accuracy. The first few ships were caught off guard, their shields flickering as they tried to retaliate, but it was already too late. Harrow's forces were like ghosts, slipping in and out of the shadows, never giving the Council a chance to regroup. Yet, the Council's response was swift and brutal. Their fleet adapted quickly, launching countermeasures and scrambling to reorient their forces. Massive laser beams tore through the void, lighting up the darkness with blinding intensity. The air inside the command center crackled with the sound of incoming fire, but Harrow remained unflinching. "They're retaliating with everything they've got," Kincaid reported, his eyes flicking between multiple screens. "They're firing on our flagship." "Return fire," Harrow ordered sharply. "Hit them where it hurts." The Earth fleet's cannons erupted in a violent barrage, targeting the enemy's command ships, and within moments, the first of the Council's vessels exploded into a brilliant flash of light. The battle was now fully underway, and the space between the two forces became a cacophony of destruction. Ships moved with deadly purpose, weaving between enemy fire, using the debris from the damaged ships to shield themselves. "We can't hold them off forever, General," Alara said, her voice tense as she scanned the battlefield. "They're regrouping faster than we anticipated." "I know," Harrow replied, her eyes never leaving the holographic map. "But they haven't seen our ace yet." Alara's confusion lasted only a second before understanding crossed her face. "The Second Fleet." Harrow gave a single nod, her lips curving into a tight smile. The Second Fleet, Earth's hidden trump card, had been held back for just this moment. A fleet of ships that had been kept in reserve, armed with the latest technology and cloaking devices that the Council had no idea Earth possessed. This was the moment they'd unleash their full force. With a wave of her hand, Harrow gave the signal. The Second Fleet, previously invisible, reappeared in the heart of the battle, surrounding the Council's flanks. The surprise was enough to send shockwaves through the Council's fleet, as ships were torn apart by waves of plasma missiles and energy blasts. The tide of battle shifted in an instant. "Now we have them," Harrow muttered, her voice like ice. The Council's ships were disorganized, retreating in all directions, but Earth's forces didn't let up. They pursued, never giving their enemies a moment to breathe. Harrow's fleet cut through the Council's defenses like a blade through paper, each strike more precise than the last. "We've got them on the run," Kincaid said, his voice tinged with satisfaction. "They won't be able to recover from this." Harrow watched the destruction unfold before her, a cold satisfaction filling her chest. This was not just a victory, it was a message. The galaxy would never forget what humanity had done. As the final ships in the Council's fleet began to flee, Harrow turned to Alara, her face unreadable. "Prepare for the final phase. We need to send them a message that goes beyond this battle." Alara nodded, understanding immediately. "We'll do what's necessary." In the midst of the chaos, Harrow took a moment to survey the battlefield. The victory had been hard-won, but it was only the beginning. The Council would retreat, regroup, and plan their next move, but Earth had proven a point. They weren't just defending their home, they were fighting for their future, for their place in the galaxy. But Harrow knew one thing: the war was far from over. Earth had taken the first step, but now they would face the full weight of the Council's wrath. This would be a long, brutal conflict, but Harrow would fight until the end, for Earth, for humanity, and for the legacy they would leave behind. This chapter highlights the intensity and tactical brilliance of General Harrow as she leads Earth's forces into a fierce and decisive battle. The unexpected power of Earth's military forces, combined with their strategic ingenuity, turns the tide of battle and sends a clear message to the Galactic Council: Earth will not be subjugated. The vast expanse of space felt even more infinite as the remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet drifted into the void. General Evelyn Harrow stood before the command center's massive display, watching the flickering projections of enemy ships limping home. The galaxy was reeling from the shock of Earth's response. And yet Harrow knew it was only a matter of time before the Council sent its final retaliation. They would not let this humiliation stand. "General," Commander Alara Cortez said, stepping into the room, her voice urgent but steady. "The Council has gathered its full strength. They're preparing a final offensive. This time, it won't just be a skirmish. They're coming for us all." Harrow nodded, the gravity of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. Earth's first strike had been devastating, and their subsequent victories had proven that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. But the Council was not one to accept defeat easily. This would be their last attempt to crush Earth once and for all. "We've anticipated this," Harrow replied, turning away from the screen. "But we must be ready for their desperation. They'll throw everything they have at us. This is it. If we don't end it now, Earth will never be safe." The room was silent, each officer processing the weight of their commander's words. Harrow could see the concern in their eyes, but also the determination. The loyalty to Earth and to her was unwavering. Earth had been the underdog for too long. It was time to show the galaxy that humanity was not only capable of surviving, but capable of conquering. As the final battle loomed, Harrow sat alone in her quarters, staring out at the planet below. The tension in the air was thick, and she could feel the weight of the coming storm. The entire fleet was in motion, but this time, the stakes were different. Earth's survival was no longer just about fending off an enemy, it was about making a definitive statement. The galaxy would never again see Earth as a passive player. The time had come to reshape the future. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. It was Kincaid, his voice steady but urgent. "General, the Council's flagship is coming into range. We've intercepted their communications. They've got a full assault fleet, 5 times the size of our combined forces. They're coming straight for Earth." Harrow's mind raced. The Council had built their empire on the idea of unchallenged dominance. But today, they would face something they had never encountered before: human resolve. Deploy all ships. We fight for Earth, Harrow said, her voice calm but resolute. Send a message they'll never forget. The final confrontation began at the outer rim of Earth's atmosphere, where Harrow's fleet awaited the Council's arrival. As the first wave of Council ships emerged from hyperspace, the sky above Earth darkened, filled with the massive silhouettes of warships. The sheer scale of their fleet was overwhelming, and for a moment, it seemed as though Earth's resolve would be crushed under the weight of their numbers. Harrow stood in the center of the command room, eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. Every second of this battle had been meticulously planned. They knew the Council would come with overwhelming force, but what they didn't know was that Earth had prepared for this. Harrow had spent months building a fleet that could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast any enemy. Begin the assault, she commanded, her voice firm. The first wave of Earth's ships leapt into action, moving in perfect formation. The quiet hum of their engines filled the room, a stark contrast to the thunderous blast of cannon fire that erupted seconds later. Earth's fleet launched its first barrage of missiles, striking the enemy's ships with surgical precision. The Council's ships retaliated immediately, their weapons firing in rapid succession. The battle had begun, and the galaxy would bear witness to the brutality of this confrontation. But Earth's ships weren't just fighting, they were dancing. They darted and weaved, cloaked in the shadows of their surroundings, avoiding incoming fire while returning precision strikes. The Council's superior numbers didn't matter. Earth's technology was far more advanced in stealth and agility. Direct hit on their flagship's shield generator, Kincaid announced, a sharp edge to his voice. We've breached their defenses. Harrow's eyes burned with intensity. This was it, the pivotal moment. The Council's flagship, the heart of their attack, was now vulnerable. But they couldn't afford to hesitate. If they gave the enemy a chance to regroup, Earth would pay the price. Engage all remaining ships, Harrow ordered. Focus everything on their flagship. Take it down. The battle raged on as Earth's forces relentlessly pursued the Council flagship. Ships exploded in flashes of light, debris scattering in all directions. Earth's fleet remained tenacious, relentless. The Council's retaliatory strikes were savage, but they were disorganized. Their once imposing fleet was now a fractured collection of ships, struggling to respond to Earth's sudden ferocity. Amidst the chaos, Harrow's flagship emerged from the cover of the asteroid belt, a silent predator in the dark. It was time for her to lead the final charge. All hands prepare for the final push, Harrow said, her voice resolute. We end this now. Her ship powered toward the Council flagship, weapons blazing. The Council's fleet, still reeling from the earlier strikes, tried to regroup, but Harrow's fleet had them cornered. The massive warships, once the symbols of galactic dominance, were now nothing more than targets in a shooting gallery. Harrow's flagship collided with the Council flagship, ramming the ship's core with devastating force. The shields of the Council's vessel flickered and collapsed under the impact, sending shockwaves through their command deck. Earth's ships pounced, launching missiles directly into the heart of the enemy ship. Direct hit! Their core is destabilizing, Kincaid called out. Harrow's voice never faltered. Keep the pressure on. We finish this now. As the flagship's core detonated in a brilliant explosion, the once proud flagship of the Galactic Council crumbled into a ball of fire and debris. The galaxy's most formidable force had been brought to its knees. Harrow stood silent, watching the destruction unfold. The battle was over. Earth had won. But even as victory filled the air, Harrow knew this was not the end. The Council had been defeated, but the ripple effects of their fall would be felt across the galaxy. The power dynamics had shifted forever. Earth had shown its strength, its ability to adapt and fight when pushed. But now, the real work would begin. As her ship began its slow descent back to Earth's orbit, Harrow turned to face her crew. They had given everything for this moment. The victory was theirs, but it was only the beginning of Earth's new chapter in the galaxy. We've earned our place in the stars, Harrow said, her voice filled with quiet triumph. Now, let's ensure the galaxy knows who we are. This chapter captures the dramatic climax of the battle, showcasing Earth's resilience, tactical brilliance, and unwavering determination. The decisive strike against the Council's flagship sends a clear message to the galaxy: humanity will not be pushed aside.